Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And are you struggling to pick a main for patch 10.1? Are you really worried about living with regret, going through the grind, gearing something up, and it just doesn't deliver the experience that you're desiring, and you really want to avoid that situation altogether? Then today's video is going to be great for you because I'm going to be going over a tier list of how hype I am for these specializations available in patch 10.1, which is most likely going to be a main for me, which is going to be a good alt pickup. What's a solid pick, but maybe not fitting within the lines of my preference? What's looking like a meh option, and what's like a total pass? I'm really not even acknowledging it whatsoever. This is not going to be on the basis of power or strength. If you want that type of tier list, I've got it. I'll have it linked at the end of this video. And of course, as always, if you want to stay up to date with information related to World of Warcraft, always ahead of the competition, then make sure to hit the subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated. It's absolutely for free, and it just lets you know when my videos go live so that you're ahead of everybody else. But let's get started here. This is a PvP focused tier list as well to take into account. Blood Death Knight, this is a pass for me. I just genuinely have no interest in it whatsoever. It's got a lot of death grips, and that's really about all that it's got going for it. So if you want to really annoy people and grip them all around the map, you can do that and be that, but personally, I'm not interested in that. Frost Death Knight, you're still kind of pigeonholed into the same type of build with cleave damage, gripping targets together, likely going to be in that burst category, not really bringing a lot of sustain to the field. The only reason why I'm somewhat more interested in this specialization at the moment is because I haven't spent a lot of time with it. But if you've been playing Frost Death Knight for a while, you might be starting to get bored of it. So I think it's probably a solid pick. I think mostly for me, my interest to it is just because I haven't played it in a really long time. But it could also be frustrating if you don't want that type of play style where you're constantly setting up goes and then retreating away. It's probably not going to be the spec for you. But if you do like that play style, then it's definitely going to be a great pickup for you. So solid middle ground at the moment for me. Unholy Death Knight. This is actually a specialization which looks like a lot of fun with the new zombie talent that's coming into PvP, where you summon this slow walking zombie that explodes a circle and does a bunch of damage. The last time I played Unholy was at the end of Shadowlands, and I think the rotation is pretty much still the same with the way that you're popping your wounds and building that up and building up your army of undead to kind of like overwhelm your opponents, really kind of sustain damage based. I feel like this is the patch where I would seriously consider alting it. I think that it's a great pickup, especially within the meta where we're anticipating a lot of spellcasters. Unholy Death Knight will definitely feel really powerful in that situation, but just playstyle wise, I think that it could be a lot of fun in this patch, and it's definitely got my eyes on it. Havoc Demon Hunter. This is kind of like the MacGyver utility belt. You've got a Swiss Army knife of a class. It can do everything pretty much, and it's really well rounded. It's likely going to be really strong, has a lot of synergies with a lot of other specializations, could be really good into the spellcaster meta as well. Likely going to be a strong pick. I really think that Havoc Demon, this is like a really good patch to play a Havoc Demon Hunter. It's definitely a solid one. I'm really considering why I'm not putting this as like a main or an alt, possibly an alt. You know, I'm going to end up having so many things as alt that it's like I'm just not going to have the time for it. And honestly, that's where solid was supposed to be. So maybe we put Frost DK on meh, because I really don't think you're getting too much new things. And I'm not particularly getting like, you know, super anticipated for it. And then we'd say Demon Hunter is just a solid pick overall. For me personally and my own preferences, you know, maybe if I have time to get to it. Vengeance Demon Hunter, personally not interested in it. I don't really see it changing too much. I got some balance changes to be a bit stronger, but still kind of the same thing. You got a lot of mobility, you jump around the map, but you're not going to be too useful outside of that. So for me, I'm not really interested. Balance Druid, this is kind of like an auto lock for me as main. It's still going to be playing the same as it has been, where you're building up Astral Power, getting into Eclipse. I think this patch is going to be a lot more focused around your casted spells, though, which I'm very excited to try out. Your Wrath damage is getting buffed a lot, and I'm really curious to see how much pressure you can put out with casted spells and sustain damage in this patch. That's what I'm looking forward to. You've also got access to new hybrid healing talents, which can make it really fun in 2v2 or in world PvP, which is something that I'm going to start to do a little bit more of now that it is available. I'm thinking like back to Mists of Pandaria, where you were able to off heal and be that type of support role. I'm wondering if that's going to be able to fulfill that. So I'm very excited for it to see how it's going to play out here. Feral Druid, this specialization, it's got a ton of bleed damage, much like last patch, just AoEing down targets. You're going to be spamming Cyclone. So if you want to play a Feral Druid and play a spam clone type of style, that is definitely going to be how it is in this patch. I think it's going to be really powerful. It's going to fit with a lot of classes in that regard. I've just never really personally been into Feral Druid. I tried it a bit in the first season of Dragonflight and I actually liked it, but then I ended up just kind of not sticking through and keeping it going. So for me personally, it's probably just a preference thing where I'm just not really interested, but it's definitely a solid pick for this patch, with improvements from the last one to this one, with new things coming for you to get excited about. So definitely a good pick for most fun or most hype, a solid option. Guardian Druid. People know I play Guardian Druid sometimes, but I'm really not interested in it. I might do it as a meme and maybe try some world PvP out with it or something like that. The tank specs are generally in world PvP going to be where they're most difficult for basically any damage dealer spec to deal with. But in competitive arena format, you're probably not going to see it a lot. I'm probably going to pass on it, though. I feel like I'm really excited about the other specializations, unlike in the past where I wasn't excited about them. And so I was like, oh, I guess I'll do this because it's here type of deal. Kind of just a pass right now for me. Restoration Druid, I think it's in a better spot competitively than last patch, but still kind of on the weaker side. You've got some new Purge Protection honor talents, but aside from that, it's the same kind of deal. Get 2 life blooms out, keep out your hots, hope that you don't run out of mana before the other healers. Honestly, I feel like it's kind of meh at the moment. I'm not really excited to play it. Honestly, I might even just say hard pass. Every time that I've tried it, and I have tried it this past week, I just literally don't even want to touch it. So actually, Resto Druid might just be a complete pass for me. But if you want that playstyle, you can definitely go for it. I just got frustrated with just losing because I ran out of mana faster than every other healer in a lot of scenarios. Devastation Evoker, it's definitely been improved upon from last patch. You're still going to be doing burst windows, but maybe not so heavily reliant on just those windows, with some cooldown reduction and damage buffs to your other abilities like Disintegrate. I think you're actually going to be feeling a little bit better than last patch. I don't know if I want to say that it's solid, though. It's probably kind of meh. Maybe solid is all right. I don't think that I'm going to alt it. Maybe at some point when I get through the main and alt characters, if I have time, I might get to it. But it's definitely been improved upon from last patch to this patch. You got the new firewall that's going to be coming down onto the ground. You can pretend you're kind of like a hexadecimal in the Matrix or something, and summoning in all these walls for enemies to run through, take damage in line of sight. It ends up being kind of troll because it line of sights your allies too. So definitely take that into account before going for it. It's a solid pick, I would say, for this patch. Definitely improved. Not super excited enough that I would really want to alt it, though, at this point. Preservation Evoker. This is a class where I could see it as a main for myself. Don't know 100%. It's really tough between Disc Priest right now for me personally with this one. It's really fun healer, super mobile, gets to contribute damage, gets to get in the enemy's face. It's going to get some new honor talents as well. I'm pretty excited for it. I think that it's one of the best healers in terms of fun that you could really pick. So definitely a highly recommended one. Beast Mastery Hunter. Now, this is one of the specs where it's really powerful. And if I was to recommend it based on power, then absolutely you should pick this because it's going to be insanely strong. But in terms of fun, it's kind of just like a feels good, like really simple class. So if you like that, you can go for it. But for me, it's kind of meh. I don't really know if I'm going to go after it. It's kind of a dirty fun because it's so simple, but it's so powerful type of deal. If that's your type of vibe, then definitely go for it. But for me, it's kind of meh. Survival Hunter, I feel like this is maybe solid. Survival Hunter has always been a really fun specialization, completely unique with the way that it plays, with the grenades and grappling in and out and navigating. It's kind of like a hybrid melee ranged. It's a completely unique experience to any other specialization. So if that sounds intriguing to you, definitely check it out. A bit worried about it on the power side. Myself personally, it's not really grabbing me this patch. You're going to get a disarm in this patch for PvP, but it's not as cool as zombies. I feel like the zombies are carrying Unholy Death Knight a lot for me in terms of piquing my interest for the specialization. Marksmanship Hunter, you got a little bit more tactical play than Beast Mastery Hunter. You got to be really careful with this spec. You're much more fragile, but it does pay off when you're able to get massive sweeping aim shots out and get a bunch of damage. But it's also just, I don't really see much new coming for it in this patch. Like, I'm trying to even think like, what is our marksman? I don't even know if you got anything new. I feel like you literally didn't even get anything new on this patch. So like, for me, it's probably a pass. I'm just not really getting hyped about it. If you like Marksmanship Hunter and that same type of vibe, it's definitely still there for you. Again, this is for myself personally. I'm trying to give you your own recommendations, but I feel like it's not really seeing anything new with this patch that's really grabbed me just yet, and I'm probably going to slide on a pass for it at the moment. Arcane Mage. a lot of your honor talent honestly got nerfed. Like kleptomania is basically removed. You got a lot of stuff that's just not really going for you, but you are powerful. This spec plays like no other spec. Again, completely unique experience. But might be really rough if you're not accustomed to it and doing well. Because if you don't know what you're doing with this spec, like you're really not going to do well. So just think about that before you select it. Because yeah, it'll be a rough ride. I'm not really interested in it, but I think it could be a lot of fun with the barrage stuff that I've been seeing going on and how much burst damage it can get out at times. It definitely looks like it could be fun. Again, this is probably just like a personal preference thing as to why I'm not really jumping into it. But I'd say it's a solid pick overall, but be careful if you're new to this spec. You're going to have a pretty tough time at the start, but the payout is likely going to be worth it in the long term. Fire Mage, completely getting buffed out the wazoo. Like you're doing so much damage now. But I think you might still fall flat to the other casters. That's the main problem for Fire Mage. And I don't really see anything spectacularly new. You're still just combustion, burst damage. The rot damage is not there. So for me, it's honestly kind of meh. I was really hoping to get stoked about it into this patch, but it's not hitting that sustained feel. It's just pop bust, try and kill something, and then you fall flat, and you're probably going to just fall below the other casters. So it's not really feeling, for me at least, in the best position. So I'm not vibing with the fire at this point in time. Frost Mage, also personally not vibing with this spec. It's still the same type of deal. Just keep Blizzard down, Frozen Orb smashes out the Ice Lances, try and keep kiting and avoiding damage. So if you want that playstyle where you're just kiting, avoiding, and keeping people at a distance, you'll definitely like it. But for me, it's just kind of meh. I'm not super digging the Frost Mage at the moment for wanting to check it out. We saw some buffs to Frost Bomb, which might be cool, but it's not grabbing me too much at the moment, unfortunately. Mistweaver Monk, probably not going to be fist weaving in 10.1 now that the nerfs are coming through. You're probably going to be a casted Mistweaver, which honestly I think is one of the more boring healers in the game. So for me, Mistweaver is probably a hard pass. Even if it's like really powerful, I'm probably passing on it. This again is probably a lot of personal bias, but I think it's one of the more you have to open your cast bar to get interrupted, but rotationally it just feels like it's missing another layer to it. Compared to the other healers. I think Resto Druid, I'm just burnt out on it. That's why I'm putting it down here in the pass. But again, with the frustrations I've already expressed towards it, probably going to be a pass for me personally for Mistweaver this patch. Brewmaster, I don't think it's going to be as strong as it was in Season 1. It's going to be a pass for me. Again, it's probably one of the better brawler tanks of all of the tanks currently available, but I'm personally going to be passing on it. Windwalker Monk, this class is doing a lot of damage. That's basically all it's got going for it. Not really getting a ton of new honor talents that are really stoking me out. Like the one where you summon an image when you fist is really not that great. It's really just the tuning changes that are piquing my interest for Windwalker. I think you're going to be in a much better spot than you were in Season 1 because of that, and it's going to feel better and be more fun because of that. But I don't think you're really getting anything too new, and still your capstone talents at the bottom of your main or monk tree aren't being utilized. So nothing really new for you. I just think it'll feel good. And likely feel powerful here. So probably a solid pick in that regard as an improvement from last patch. Holy Paladin, probably going to see more casted Paladin play, especially once you get to your new tier sets that are going to increase your Holy Shock crit healing. I think Holy Paladin is honestly one of the more boring healers, though, personally. I think it can be a good beginner healer with how powerful its cooldowns are to keep you going in a game. So if you're a beginner, I feel like it can be good. But for me personally, I think I would get pretty bored of it after a while. I don't know how some people can have 10 of it. I would kind of get bored of it. It's probably meh, at least for me. At this point in time, but getting more interest towards it than Resto Druid just because of how burnt I think I am on Resto Druid, and I do think it is more fun than Mistweaver. For Prot Paladin, you're probably the most fun tank spec. You got the most to do. You got cooldowns and stuff, and you actually work in competitive play. So you know, it's kind of meh. I'm probably not going to play it, but it's probably a meh pick. Out of all the classes in terms of fun, just because you get all of those tools. I don't think you're really getting anything new. I just put it on pass. I'll put it at the top of pass. I'll organize this on like what I would play, most likely to play from left to right kind of deal or something like that. And then we'll organize it at the end of the video in that regard. Ret Paladin, I didn't check out the rework when you got all that new stuff. Not really getting anything new on top of that, so I'm probably not going to check it out. It's kind of at the moment it feels like a spec where it's like if the throughput's there, it's gonna be fun because it's strong. So it's probably a solid pickup, but I think I would get bored of it. So maybe I should put it on meh. I personally do think I would get bored of it, but we'll leave it here for now. Come back to it later. This priest, definitely a main possibility for me. I really like min-maxing healing and damage together as a healer. It's probably why preservation and disc are coming up to the top here. I think it's done in a way where it's not as oppressive as Mistweaver Monk, where it's like all or nothing, everyone's full HP type of deal. I was vibing with this priest. I think the new life grip talent to AoE grip people when they get out of your barrier and it's super annoying. It's gonna be really nice. They'll probably still run out of it even if you AoE grip them into it. But I'm excited to try it. And now with the phase shift, bringing back greater fade basically to immune crowd control, could be really fun and interactive. Holy Priest, again, this isn't based on power. I think on power, it's probably the weakest healer. This is most fun, most hype. It's probably a solid pick. I feel like the mechanics of the class are pretty fun. Jumping into the angel form, immuning crowd control, spamming out heals, focusing on cooldown reduction, trying to get out stun locks or crowd control for your teammates. I think it is a fun healer. But again, if you're picking this based on power, you might struggle with it in that regard. But I do think it is fun. Shadow, this is a spec where I think that I could main it on this patch, but I'm not 100% yet. So maybe alt is a safer place for it. Shadow is getting that complete rework overhaul for 10.1. It's gonna be a lot of casted damage, but hopefully gonna feel rewarding for that casted damage and not gonna be go based. And it's those type of specializations that I really like. So the Rotten Dot play style. Really excited about it, definitely intrigued. So it's definitely higher up there in terms of possibilities for me to play as a main or an alt, or what I'm really excited about. Assassination Rogue, I feel like it's the most straightforward rogue spec. You just, tunnel the target down, keep bleeds up, maybe cleave it onto a secondary target, kidney shot on cooldown, try and do as much damage as possible. It's a really simple class, so if you want like a simple rogue spec, it'll be good for you. It's probably solid in terms of fun. Again, if we're trying to incorporate power, I think it's probably going to be the best or second best rogue spec. But would I see myself getting bored of it? I could see myself getting bored of it. Just it's somewhere between here and here for right now for me. Outlaw Rogue, I actually think this class is a lot of fun. In terms of power, yet to be seen. It's probably still going to be a bit of a struggle bus again, but if you're picking this based on fun, I think it's got way more things going on with it in terms of offense and cooldown reduction and trying to manage all those different resources compared to the other rogue specs, that it's super fun. I've seen nothing but kind of positive feedback towards how fun it is. So definitely a solid pickup. Subtlety Rogue, you're kind of still the same deal, I feel like. Do note you're going to get Cloak of Shadows, which can remove disarm. So you're going to be able to get like really bursty moments where warriors and stuff can't even disarm you anymore, which could be really cool. But it's still kind of just the same, right? Just cheap shot Shadow Dance, try and one shot. Didn't work, run around. I'm not personally that excited for it. Just not my cup of tea, not my play style. If you like that play style again, it's definitely going to fulfill that. You should definitely check it out. But for me, it's not my play style. And the cloaking disarm thing is not enough to really kind of make me go, oh my god, I'm playing a sub rogue on this patch. Elemental Shaman, this is a class where I could see as an alt. It's definitely pumping up the numbers, lots of raw damage with all the changes and new honor talents towards Lava Surge and stuff like that. Really excited to see where it ends up here in terms of pumping out some numbers and doing a lot of damage and min-maxing your global cooldowns and your actions per minute. Really excited. Enhancement Shaman, same type of deal. I'm actually putting this up on a main possibility. I was playing it in season 1 and it's that fun that I'm actually willing to carry it forward into season 2. I really like the different builds for it. Lava Lash, Doom Winds, lots of versatility and talents, always something to do in a game, high actions per minute, nice balance between support and offense. Really good spec. It's a lot of fun. And it's also probably going to be strong in this patch. Restoration Shaman, same type of deal. I wish that had a little bit more offense, like Preservation and Disc Priest, and that's probably why I'm holding it down a little bit, but I could see it as a possible alt for me, just because of the actions per minute deal. You're still really based around your totems, and that could be frustrating if enemies know how to kill your totems, so just be aware of that. But I do think it is a fun healer. Trying to get Flame Shock Lava Bursts out, trying to keep ahead of damage and position well. Frustrations come in when your allies run out of your totems. Definitely take that into consideration. Affliction Warlock, I don't know if they've hit the shot on this. I want to say that this has got to be the patch that I want to check it out, but I think it might fall flat in terms of power. I could see it as an alt because again, it's hitting that play style of like high APM, putting out a lot of pressure, doing a lot of damage. Could definitely see it as an alt for myself. I think it's gonna be a solid pick. Just worried about it overall in the highest level of competitive play. But in terms of fun, like min-maxing your globals, once you get that rot going, there's something really satisfying with the way that it feels. And the new talent, which like shreds the soul out of the target and gives you a mortal strike effect, is definitely got me intrigued in terms of new things for the class here for 10.1. Demonology, same type of deal. Having the pet micromanagement control, all the different crowd control effects that you have is really fun. You just got like a buffet of like, I'm going to CC this guy with this and this guy with this and trying to strategize and be tactical with it. I think it's really fun because of that. Destruction Warlock, kind of the feels good Warlock spec where it just does a bunch of damage, doesn't really have to cast a lot. Like it's kind of dirty fun, like I was saying with Beast Mastery Hunter. It's going to be really powerful. I just don't know if I'm really interested in it. I think it's probably just a solid pickup at the moment. Definitely one that I'm maybe more intrigued than the other ones if we're going left to right. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of just a feels good, dirty kind of fun. Not the same type of crowd control as Demonology. And if it was kind of Affliction was in line with it, Affliction and Destro would probably be very similar in terms of power. Arms Warrior, this is one that I think could be a main. You're getting so many things. Like you're getting Shockwave bag, you have multiple stuns, you've got so many different talent builds. Skull Splitter's doing infinite sustain. The Bladestorm builds are still doing a lot of burst damage. Really well-rounded spec, great utility and defense. Always a fun spec. One that I just played yesterday and was really liking and thinking like, oh, maybe I got to spend more time with this because I didn't do enough in season 1. I don't think you'll get bored with this spec. Fury Warrior, it's kind of the feels dirty spec of Warrior. Curious to see how the Death Wish changes come in, but aside from that, you're not really getting too much new. You're just in probably a stronger position than you were before, but I could see it being one that, at least myself, that I would get bored of pretty quickly just because it is on the simpler side. And then finally we got Prot Warrior here. Probably just going to be passing on this. Just not really super interested in testing out the tank specs. So let's organize this here on like what's intriguing me the most. So Balanced, again, there's a lot of bias here, but I think it is a really fun class. Arms Enhance, probably going to play Disc over Evoker. Unholy DK, really excited to try this as an alt. Possibly bring Shadow Priest a little bit close, or Affliction Lock a little bit closer. Destro, just with how powerful it is, has got me interested in it. Maybe curious to see what the Chaos Bolts and the Instant Cast builds. These are like solid picks. And then meh pick is like, you've got to really want to like the play style. These ones are dirty fun. Frost DK, Fury Warrior, and BM Hunter, they're dirty fun. You want something simple and have some success, you're going to like these, but they're really stuck on their strategies. Fire Mage Frost, I feel like you're going to feel inferior. And again, this is probably where performance is actually interfering with how fun they could be. You're probably going to struggle with the other casters and their output in my mind. Holy Paladin, really simple and basic healer to pick up. Definitely really good if you're a beginner. Probably going to be in a much better spot than last patch in terms of competitive play, but I think it's still on the simpler side. I would get bored of it pretty fast. Assassination Rogue, again, kind of simpler rogue specialization, straightforward kidney shot, tunnel down the target. Subtlety Rogue, it's just plain the same as the Subtlety Rogue has. So I was kind of hoping for something different to come in with all those crowd control changes to try and bring something new to sub. So it's really just not grabbing my attention. But if you want that hit and run play style, it's going to be there for sub. So definitely check it out. Marksman, same type of deal. It's just, I didn't see anything new. It's not that it isn't fun if you like that hunter play style from the back, but I just didn't see anything new as it grabbed my attention. And those are kind of the ones where I feel like I should point out my personal bias towards how fun they are. But aside from that, these are my thoughts on the specs, the new stuff that they're getting, what's grabbing my attention the most, or I'm most likely to play, what's kind of falling down towards the bottom. This might be completely different for you. Fun is entirely subjective. So definitely let me know in the comments down below if there's something that I've missed or something about the class that's really got you hyped to play it. Because this is just for me and give you an idea of what I'm thinking. I'd love to know what you're thinking as well. So other than that, thank you for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.